Yeah, we should,
There you go. Hi,
thanks, Jesse.
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, I mean specifically for this town to do what.
Okay,
I'll probably have some else to you around.
go ahead.
I'll start the meeting with the pledge to the flag. So, Becky, we're gonna do the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everybody to the March 6th, 2024 agenda meeting. And actually, I realized on the agenda, I left off the committee reports at the beginning. Before we proceed to interview, I'll ask if there are any committee reports.
We're doing privilege.
Oh, I actually didn't check for that. I don't see any hands and check the.
I'm on.
I'll check this. Sorry. Yeah, thank you.
Catherine has her hand up.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start here at the town hall with Peter Hoyt.
Thanks. I've been reading this hunt report over very carefully today, and I have problems and issues with it at several levels. I'm not prepared yet to go into detail. I have to do some more homework on technical stuff and business stuff both, but I guess I just, and I know that I'm kind of late on this. You guys have been working on this for longer than I realized. I was so caught up in some of the other stuff that was going on, but I urge the board to go as slow as they can, hold off if that's possible, until we can learn more. I think it's a bad move for the town. And I'll be prepared to argue that more formally in the future. I may even do so much as write a report and submit it to you, Mark, but I do know something about how this stuff works. I don't claim to be an expert, but I have worked in computing all my adult life. And there's a lot about here I think it's a bad idea for the town of Caroline. So I just urge you to take it as slow as you can. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you, Peter. So you think it's a bad idea, but you're not prepared to tell us why? Is that right? But you'll tell us later?
But I mean, I can sit here and use up 2 minutes making a couple observations of what I read so far. If you'd like me to, I'll.
No, not necessarily. I just, for the public, I want to point out that we have engaged an engineering firm over the last year to do a feasibility study.
Right.
Yeah, so
I don't like their.
we have been doing this with a degree of care.
Oh, no, I recognize that. I'm not being
Okay.
critical on
Okay.
Mark, because I mean, I was late. You said you've been working on this for a year and I only became aware of it more recently. So that's my bad. I still would like to.
If you have concerns, we want to
You
hear.
think I can be more effective in persuading you, the board, if I wait and do it all at once rather than say, I don't like this, and wow, that really
Okay.
looks bad.
I'm good with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great. Okay, next is Catherine and Jaya.
Hello, thank
Hello.
you. Hi. All right. So my first office in Ithaca was at 109 South Albany Street downtown. I wanted to share with you that that office building was a historic house, which looks like most other downtown houses in that area. Inside that building was my veterinary house call business, an acupuncturist, a therapist, and an engineering firm. In the foyer of the building was a communal copier and printer and so on, and it was really a lovely spot. I defy anyone on the board to tell me that this type of arrangement would be inappropriate for the town of Caroline. The issue of offices seems pretty innocuous, but somehow, as is tradition within the town of Caroline, it became overly complicated and just plain weird. At 1 hour, 15 minutes and 52 seconds in the recording of last week's meeting, a simple proposal of changing offices in Bessemer and West Slaterville from X to SPR on the use table carried 3-2, and then flipped after the vote was taken again, following Tim's justification of his own vote as being, quote, out of respect for the zoning commission, end quote. Kate ultimately changed her vote, stating, quote, I'm wishy-washy, but I'm siding with the zoning commission's work on that, end quote. Well, in this case, I'm sorry to say that being wishy-washy is causing damage. Damage to anyone who might have wanted to work outside of their home, but in the town, in the hamlets of Beesmer and West Slaterville, where a variety of offices already exist across a range of professions. It brings me no joy to say on the record that you are not a very creative group of local officials. You can't envision a small office building which is aesthetically in keeping with the character of Caroline. Tim shared his belief that this is a banned use because of, quote, density of use, parking, and traffic, end quote, which is funny because the zoning law definition of an office is itself protective against these exact potential harms, not to mention offensive lighting or noise. It's a place to work that's not where a person lives, but the physical form could be the same as a home. Any residual concerns about a particular project would be addressed in the site plan review process. Why you feel the need to imagine a corporate office park when you consider an office in the town of Caroline is beyond me. The definition of an office says nothing about its physical form. Ironically, those are determined by the square footage limits and design standards that I myself have argued against, but are exactly the kind of thing that should bring comfort to those who fear that development will not be to their desired aesthetic. I honestly have no idea what the concern is about this, and I strongly urge you to reconsider, or really, I should say, honor your original vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. All right, is there anyone else in Zoom land who wishes to speak? I don't think we have any others here. I don't see any hands. So without further ado, I will proceed to committee reports. And I don't know if there are any. I did want to, so Mike Brown, who's the chair of Energy Independent Caroline, wanted to bring some matters to our attention for our consideration that'll be before us soon. So I suggested that in the committee reports, I would ask Mike if he'd want to speak on that. So Mike, do you want to give us a rundown of what's before us in terms of community solar?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So EIC is working to help the town come up with decide on a company to provide community solar. This would be for municipal electric accounts, and also we'd want to work with that company to offer what's called a community campaign. This is where we'd work with that company and EIC and other local partners to offer community solar to residential accounts as well, and business accounts in town. And so we're trying to decide the best way forward for how to, I guess, provide a recommendation for a company. And we had initially started where we would sort of put out our own kind of unofficial bid. We went to a list of NYSERDA community solar providers, and we had contacted them and asked them to come and give EIC a presentation and provide us with proposals. But this week I spoke with someone from NYPA, the New York Power Authority, and they are willing to put out a bid for us. So it would be a more official bid. And I guess the only tricky thing here is that one of the advantages of doing this community solar work is that we could it could help us get points within one of our sustainability programs for grants. And there's sort of a timeline consideration. And so going it on our own could be quicker, but going with NYPA could be a more official route. And so I just want to get feedback, because we might just cancel our meetings next week that we had set up ourselves and go with NYPA if the board feels that that is a more advisable way to do this. So that would be NYPA putting out to bid for the town to solicit offers from community solar providers. And so I guess the question that comes up is this kind of activity, does it require an official bid or not? We're talking about municipal electric accounts.
Mike, would you mind explaining primarily for the public what a community solar project is, very, very briefly, and what the
Yeah.
advantages would be?
Yeah, so it's basically companies have installed solar installations or solar projects, solar fields, and that are producing solar power. And you subscribe your electric account, this could be a resident or a municipal electric account, to the electricity that's being supplied. And you get credits applied to your bill. And it's typically advertised that you will have a savings of like 5 to 10% on your annual electricity bill. So this is an opportunity for folks who don't have the ability to have solar on their house to basically take advantage of solar powered electricity. And it comes as a cost savings, and there's no cost to do this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike, I don't know if we would be prepared to answer that tonight. I mean, I guess I'd want to. So NYPA is like a public benefit corporation that serves municipalities, right? Something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I like that aspect of it. So I was wondering, I mean, would EIC want to, have they had a chance to discuss this, and is there a feeling of the group what the best recommendation would be?
No, so we have our meeting next week, and that's when we were going to, we were planning on coming to a decision regarding the companies that we had solicited ourselves. But this opportunity with NYPA just presented itself this week, and we haven't had a chance to discuss it.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of in the position of needing to either decide to go with NYPA for our meeting next week and have them present to us, or to and to cancel these meetings with these other companies. Really, it'd probably be NYPA doing the work for us and soliciting the same companies that we've already reached out to. It would just be sort of a more, or it'd be a subset of them, but it'd be a more official process.
Would you be able to host NYPA at the EIC meeting and then have the discussion and make a recommendation from that?
That's what I was thinking we could do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was mainly to see if the board had a feeling just from the onset, if they would, if this kind of action, the NYPA rep was wondering if this requires an official bid anyways. But we didn't have an answer to that. I don't know what the answer is, if this kind of thing requires an official bid, or sort of the ad hoc one that we had been putting together ourselves.
What is the name of the NYPA representative?
His name is Casey Mastro, and he helped the town purchase streetlights and convert them to LED.
Yeah, we did the street light program through NYPA as well, so. Yeah,
They're not speedy.
yeah. I just, I remember that too, but do remember that was, that happened right during the pandemic.
That's true.
And there was a supply issue with the cellular
Yep.
communicators. So that held it up a lot, so.
You're right.
Great, okay.
Yeah, so if the board doesn't have an immediate feeling on this, I think I'll continue my conversation with Casey and make a decision on whether or not we need to cancel these interviews with these companies and go with NYPA, or continue with it. But it's probably, basically NYPA is in the process of letting us know what they think the timeline is going to be.
What their timeline's gonna be.
Yeah, for determining what the electric load is for the municipal accounts, and then putting this out to bid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my recommendation would be to postpone with the individual companies and talk to NYPA, and then convene with the group and see what you all think. If you wanted to go ahead and then interview the companies.
That seems like a good in between from what I was thinking. I was thinking that we would just have to cancel this meeting, but saying postponing it is a more sensitive way of doing it, and meet with NIPA next week, and maybe we'll have our answer based on that, and then we can make a recommendation.
Okay, super. Thank you, Mike.
I agree with Mark on that. Just, meet with NIPA and then go.
Cal, can you say that again?
I agree with Mark that I think it would be best to go ahead with NIPA to start with
Mm-hmm.
and postpone maybe the other, private contractors. And NIPA knows who we are now and has worked with us on the street lights.
Yeah, my gut feeling is that going with NIPA is probably the best way to do this.
Yep, your gut feeling is right,
Yeah,
in my humble opinion.
yeah. That's good to know. So that's what I will do.
And sometimes opinion.
Go with your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's never gotten me in trouble before. So, all right, I will do that. Yeah, thank you for the feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, so much for working on this. So is there anything else you want to speak to us about?
I guess there's that clean eating cooling campaign. But I can just chime in if you have anything you want me to add about that when you decide to talk about it.
Yeah, I'll put that resolution forward at our next meeting.
Okay, yep,
So, but yeah.
sounds good. Yep. Okay,
Great. Okay,
talk to you later. Yep.
thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Okay. Thanks, everybody. So without any
I mean, I can just
Oh.
quickly mention, we're working on a revision of the website with the designer Yvette Bergman, and she's been meeting with us a few times, and I've most recently had a follow-up meeting with her. And she's at the stage of actually doing design, and we're starting to think about infilling information. And it's going pretty smoothly. The main challenge is going to be to decide how robust pages we make for individual committees and how frequently those would be updated and changed, because that then requires labor on the back end.
Mhm.
But overall, it's going really well, and I think she'll be done. I mean, her timeline was to be done by the end of spring, and she's
She's moving along.
moving along.
Great. Great, thank you, Tim. That's great news. Anything else? So, okay. So, let's move on. And I want to thank Cindy Kennel for joining us tonight. She's expressed interest in the town's review board. Ellen Harrison resigned, so there's a vacancy, and we have a vacancy for an alternate on that committee as well. So welcome, Cindy. And I guess if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your interest in this position.
So I have 8 years of property management experience. So when you're talking about rules, regulations, and within that, we were between new construction or remodels, things that we had to have permits and inspections along the way, compliance with all of that. I've had 8 years of experience in doing that. So I thought that that could be of value to the group. And I've been in Carolina for 40 years. So in and out of projects and things going on, but I guess I'm of the opinion that if you have a stake in something, then participation is the best way to kind of maintain or keep abreast of that. So that was my main focus, and depending, on the review, it may become more important when a zoning is in place. In my personal perspective is to have balance, transparency, openness in that process, and I would like to be a part of that in that fashion. That's me.
Great. So you're familiar with the review board responsibilities?
A
and the
little bit,
process?
I did have questions that
Okay.
I could either answer or email back and forth.
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, so, it's a volunteer board of, 5 members, 5 voting members, and, they meet on need. And there's as is true for several of our municipal boards, there's a requirement for 4 hours of training, per year, which is not onerous, and, for this committee, and since we're anticipating enacting the zoning law, we're gonna be, scheduling a training, with our planner or our town attorney to help the review board stay on the tracks and know what they're
right, or
doing.
get up to speed to things that are different.
Yeah, so, but I do want to point out that so the review board's responsibilities are going to be much the same as they have been in the past. So in the past, they administered the site plan law and the subdivision review law, and they'll do that going forward as well. It's just that zoning will steer the particular projects that go to
Right.
the review board. So in that regard, it'll be much the same as it has been in the past. So it's a deliberative process, and takes a lot of care and study. So you said you had some questions, would you?
Well, I think you answered a couple, there's 5 members and they meet as needed. I suspect that need will increase, right, with zoning if projects and things come up. That clearly there would be more rules now than there are first now, so there may be more, I guess that's my.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, we'll
Okay,
find out.
It's fine if it is.
We'll find out.
That was
So,
part of my question was how often. and-
yeah, in the past, there was a threshold where, over 10,000 square feet, a project went to site plan review. Now, there's a use table that says these projects will go to site plan review. So, it's unclear whether there'll be more or less, but, at any rate, yeah, it'll be interesting. And we have had a pause over the last 3 years, so there may be a pent up.
Right, a backlog and.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, I guess those were really my only kind of
Okay.
different questions thus far.
Great. Does anybody else have questions for Cindy?
I guess I'm interested in your comments about the transparency. Like, do you have suggestions for how transparency can be improved? And you feel that the process hasn't been transparent enough in the past?
What I feel is, the division through the zoning, and people are, pretty sensitive to things. And I think at some point you have to start kind of bringing that together. And I think if questions and concerns are coming up and people are, Catherine spoke to what she thought were things in the review that she didn't interpret the same way. Just for things to be open and transparent to try to heal some of the division, maybe to build some trust, because I think that is part of the division created in, at this point, if we're going to we're gonna move to zoning, then the best way for everybody is to be collaborative and open and transparent. I personally, it doesn't matter personally what I think. I know the mindset of a lot of people is of the lack of transparency and mistrust. And if I can be a part of helping to gain that back to some extent, however, I can't force people to do things, but I think if they felt that there was somebody who was working with them, I think people think that everything they come up with the zoning group is going to be a no, which is not, I don't think is the case. So just trying to find a way to maybe help soothe and mend, so.
So do you have any specific suggestions that you can thinking about?
I don't have at this point because I'm not like involved and not in a situation where, you know, something may come up that we could apply a different strategy. It's more of a general thought and
I will, I think you know this, but, the review board functions, procedurally exactly the way the town board does. They're public meetings. And so, now with our Zoom technology, I'm sure they'll be recorded and posted for people. Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions for Cindy? I will all thank you for coming tonight. I know we were going back and forth.
yeah, picking names.
It's we are going to be interviewing 2 other people on our meeting on the 20th, and then I don't think we'll probably depending on how things go, I expect to make a decision in April at our early April meeting. So great.
Thank you.
Anything else for Cindy? Great. Thanks so much for coming. Great. Nice talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay. And this, since the, we've had a land use moratorium during the work of the zoning commission. And so I had to dust off my notes and my files and everything. But anyway, so I wanted to offer this resolution just to reaffirm, clarify for everyone, the current review board members, that they are still in place, and this resolution just states that and gives their term. So I'll put this resolution forward, a resolution affirming the appointments and terms of the town's review board. And those members are Sue Pierce Kelling. Her term runs 2020 to 2024. Craig Modisher, who is the chair of the review board, 2021 to 2025. Don Barber, 2022 to 2026. And Bruce Murray, 2024 to 2028. So these are staggered by 1 year, 5-year terms, so that you have a regular progression. And you'll notice there's a skip there. That's when Ellen Harrison retired, and then when I reappointed Bruce. I forgot that, and I put in, then so the next appointment will be 2023 to 2027. So just a procedural thing. It'll be a year shorter. But if everything's, what's typically happened in the past is, at the end of the term, if everything's going swimmingly and the review board members willing to stay on, then we re-up them for a new term. So, so that's, I put that forward, resolution forward. Any second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Michelle. And any further questions? No further questions. I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Great. Thank you, Cal. All right, so the next resolution is a resolution adopting the changes to the proposed Caroline zoning law following the public hearing we had on February 14th, Valentine's Day. And so I wanted to formalize, we really discussed these at the last meeting, as Catherine noted. And so I wanted to make sure that we had them all clearly stated. So this resolution does that. And let's see, there was in regard, will note there was an earlier discussion today with Don Barber, who was also pointing out that you addressed Michelle. So
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to check my email to see if there was any response to that.
I responded.
Oh, did you? Okay.
yeah. So
I agree.
Okay.
yeah.
So I think you'd like to make a friendly amendment.
So
What?
to to change the definition of offices to office
Oh.
buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
To
makes sense.
clarify.
Yeah,
There
just to
seems to be
clarify, we're
some
talking,
misunderstandings
Yeah.
by a
So
number
that-
of people.
That would be one thing. So that would be in the definitions and also in the use table.
Yeah.
So that's what I have for that.
And of course, just to remind everybody, anything currently happening is grandfathered into the use table,
right,
right?
Right.
right,
Yes.
So what we're talking about here is a definition that would pertain to future construction.
yes,
Okay.
right.
So are there any particular items for further discussion or things
No,
to be added or anything? So,
not from me.
No.
I'd still like to go back to offices, but I guess I'll drop it.
do you want to make a motion, Cal?
That, just a second. Health, medical clinic and laboratory facilities are permitted in Beesmer and West Slaterville.
Oh, wait, what's your motion? Just, could you just stay, like, what are you proposing?
Under health, medical clinics and laboratories, they will
Okay,
be permitted in West Slaterville and Beesmer.
I assume they're not right now, right? Okay, so that,
so you're proposing SPR across the slate.
Yes,
Do I have a second for Cal's proposal?
Well, I'll second it so we can discuss it.
Seconded by Kate. And, what's your reasoning for that, Cal?
when we were talking about offices and I said to myself, well, what about a doctor's office? And well, that's not a doctor's office anymore, but it's, health and things like that. And I think it would be nice to have a, forgive me, doctor's office in Caroline. The most logical and practical place for somebody to want to do something like that is along 79 between Slaterville and the town line. There is land there that is suitable for that. And I think it would be, if somebody wanted to do it, or some business or entity, or maybe Cuba Medical, or, get some sort of healthcare thing out this way. I want to do what I can to grease the wheels to make it happen. And to me, it's just most logical that it's West Beesmer, or Beesmer and West Slaterville is the double prime commercial land for small things like this. And we're taking it off the table.
Okay, thank you, Cal.
well, can I respond?
You may, Michelle?
I'm just gonna go back to, those are residential hamlets. When we were discussing Route 79, you can look at Dryden zoning, and Dryden has that whole Route 79 is all zoned as residential.
Mhm.
And there are other places within Caroline. We're not saying you can't have these things in Caroline. We're saying
Mhm.
just not in Beesimer and West Slaterville. There's 6 other hamlets that they could be located in. So I think it's okay to have 2 hamlets that are residential. We don't need to have commercial activity in every single hamlet.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, that's lack of imagination on my part, but
Yep.
it's just the way it goes.
No, it's not, Michelle.
So,
But as I drive through 79, when I'm in the town of Dryden and I see that, I forget what their designation is, but it's residential something. But it's also very,
I think it's agricultural residential, actually.
Yep, go ahead, Cal.
Anyway,
whatever. But it's residential, I don't know, whatever, but it's something. But also the depth of that designation, at least from the map, is very narrow, whereas the designation in the map for Caroline are quite deep. And I don't see like where, if you wanted to get something off the road and away from the residential part that's more on the road, I don't know. I think, you could have maybe a longer drive, a little cul-de-sac back into something like that. But I think just to start out eliminating something that I, potentially is a significant community benefit.
Okay,
I don't think the area is that residential. When I count the number of houses with driveways onto 79 between the town line and Slaterville, and yeah, we got a couple small areas in there, but it's not, I just can't see it impugning on the residential character of that neighborhood, especially
Okay.
for something like that.
okay.
And now I'm starting to drone on, sorry.
No, that's okay. I want to see, you and Michelle have spoken. Does anyone else wish to speak?
Well, I mean, I'll just kind of pick up on what Michelle had said, what the zoning commission recommended were to focus on future likely potential residential development and to designate areas where that would be likely to happen and to make those areas amenable to that. And in this case, the health medical clinic laboratory, or even SPR in Egg Rural, which a lot of things aren't, because the zoning commission felt that it would be, if we were going to have something like that, the town is very, very large, and so it'd be a good idea to have flexible spaces for that. But the reason that they designated West Slaterville and the Bessemer districts were to try to preserve them for condensed residential growth. And we're not really, what zoning does is, zoning isn't a map onto exactly what's here right now. It's providing a platform for where things will go towards the future. And the zoning commission spent a lot of time on this, on these issues. And regarding Route 79, I think, Cal, as you're aware, there was a deep concern that it not become simply a long commercial haphazard strip, but there be some thought into that. And so the zoning commission recommended kind of layered commercial development at different pressure points along 79, realizing, in fact, in the last 10 years, there frankly hasn't been any new commercial development on 79 between the town line and, let's say, Ellis Hollow Road. But there's been significant residential development, and that was the kind of future growth that the zoning commission had in mind. And it thought that the potential of these kinds of buildings can have heavy use. They can be potentially large. They tend to have a lot of parking, a lot of lighting, and they thought that it would just be best to put them in different areas, in other areas of the town. So I'm comfortable with leaving it the way that it is.
I'm set.
Okay, you okay?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So, I guess, we've discussed it, to call for a vote. So I'll say, I'll call for a vote for, allowing the health medical clinic laboratory with SPR in Bessemer and West Slaterville. So all in favor of that?
Wait, could you repeat that, Mark, please?
Oh, so I'm proposing Cal's
Okay,
suggestion
okay.
of allowing with SPR the health medical clinic laboratory in Bessemer and West Slaterville. So that would be a
Thank you.
change in the use table from what we put forward tonight. So all in favor of that, please raise your hand or say aye. So,
Aye.
yeah, okay. And opposed? Great, thanks. I understand your perspective, Cal, that it's just sort of a difference of opinion there.
Yep.
Yeah, so, anything else we wish to discuss? No?
Nope.
No, okay. So with that, so there,
There may be other stuff to discuss after the next public hearing.
yep. So, without further ado, I'll call for a vote on this suite of resolution, of changes in this resolution.
With that friendly amendment about the office building.
With
Yeah.
the amendment at the beginning about the offices to office buildings,
Yeah.
quote unquote. So all in favor, say aye, and raise your hand. Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Great. Thanks, that's unanimous.
If I may say, Tim, I agree with your point 110% about the zoning commission trying to look into the future of what things would be and how they'd be arranged and what would be, just appropriate. And we just have a different vision of what that might be.
Yeah. Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. So I'll offer resolution. Because we made these few changes, sustaining before we made a negative declaration of environmental impact in our Environmental Quality Review Act review of the zoning law. So whereas the town of Caroline as the Caroline Town Board as lead agency determined that the proposed Caroline zoning law did not present significant adverse environmental impacts and made a negative declaration of environmental impact by resolution 59 of 24 adopted on February 7th. And whereas after the public hearing held on February 14th on said law, the Caroline Town Board adopted changes to the proposed zoning law. And whereas although many changes were editorial in nature, the following substantive changes merit further consideration of environmental impact. The former hamlet of Caroline was eliminated and melded into the ag rural district. Bakeries are now allowed with site plan review in the ag rural district. Pet cemeteries are permitted in all districts, and formula businesses are not allowed in Speedsville or Caroline Center hamlets. And whereas the Caroline Town Board carefully considered these changes with due consideration of the existing conditions in Caroline and its residential centers and the goals of the comprehensive plan to protect the rural nature of the town and promote smart growth principles. And whereas detailed in the section F narrative attached to part 1 of the full environmental assessment form, the proposed zoning strengthens environmental protections when new development is proposed by well-considered siting and review processes, thereby enhancing environmental protections and supporting the goals of seeker. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Caroline Town Board hereby declares that adoption of the proposed zoning, proposed local law of 24 as amended as of March 6, 2024, adopting a local law that established the Town of Caroline zoning law will not have any potential significant adverse environmental impacts, and further be it resolved that the Town Board hereby sustains a negative declaration of environmental impact as adopted on February 7th, 2024 by resolution 59 of 24 by the Caroline Town Board. Second by Tim. So, any questions? Okay, so without further ado, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Great, thanks. Unanimous. And with that, I will offer a resolution to set the public hearing for the amended zoning law. Whereas a revised draft of the proposed zoning law for the Town of Caroline is hereby introduced after considering comments from the public hearing held on February 14th. Therefore, be it resolved, the town board hereby sets a public hearing to be held on March 20th, 2024 at 7 p.m. at the Caroline Town Hall and by Zoom, and directs the town clerk to duly notice this hearing as required by New York State town law. And the notice is below that, so. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Kate.
Yeah.
And I will call on for a vote. Is that date acceptable to
Yeah.
everyone?
Yes,
March 20th in
March
2 weeks?
yes.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
I,
great. Opposed? Great, thank you.
Is that the night of the business meeting?
Yeah,
Yes.
all right. So I will offer a resolution of support for a joint application with the town of Dryden and Hunt Engineers to the Connect All Municipal Infrastructure Program for municipal broadband in Caroline and Dryden.
And I will second that.
Seconded by Kate. And I will just read through the whereases, whereas by resolution 64, adopted on February 15th, 2023. More than a year ago, the Caroline Town Board committed its ARPA funds award of $338,050 and accepted an additional ARPA Recovery Fund award from Tompkins County of $132,333, totaling $470,383 towards a feasibility study and partial build out of town-owned municipal broadband utility in Caroline. And whereas the rationale for this engineering and planning step was to prepare a solid justification and foundation for application for the use of public funds towards the full build out of a municipal broadband utility in Caroline. And whereas the feasibility study for municipal broadband utility that included a townwide survey of residents was conducted by Hunt Engineers and presented to the town board on December 21st, 2023. And whereas from the information presented in the feasibility study and a project summary presented by Hunt Engineers on October 19th, 2023, the Caroline Town Board determined that municipally owned broadband was the best option to provide for the needs of our residents now and in the future. And whereas the town of Caroline is in a unique position to partner with the town of Dryden with technical expertise from Hunt Engineers for extension of infrastructure from the Dryden Fiber Project into Caroline with cost-sharing opportunities for both municipalities to enhance the economics and operation of municipal broadband in each town. Therefore, be it resolved, the Caroline Town Board hereby endorses a joint application with the town of Dryden to the New York State Connect All Municipal Infrastructure Program for funds to bring affordable, high-quality internet service to our residents. Second. She got
I
it. We got a front end second on
Yeah.
that.
Front end, second.
So are there any questions about this? The grant application is due Friday. So I'll be getting a certified resolution tomorrow and forwarding that. So I think this is exactly why we started this process. We're in a great position to do it with completion of the feasibility study. And we're really lucky to be neighbors with Dryden for this, so. So anyway, I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
So-
Dryden's pretty excited too.
Yeah.
So, and it's really straightforward funding, which is nice.
Mhm.
Be able to get it and quickly and get moving. So
Yeah, so I hope,
assuming we get it.
and this is the goal of this program. For it to be municipally owned and operated. So costs can be controlled, you can control service, you can control quality of the service. And I thought from the presentation Ryan gave us in October, I was really impressed. This is a passive optical network that I don't know much about IT, but the way he described it, it sounds like it's operationally very efficient and reliable.
Yeah.
And easy to manage. So if there are no further questions, I'll call for a vote.
does it commit us to anything once, if we change our minds about the grant?
Well, so we get the grant and then we change our mind about it?
No, something happens. I don't know. we give the money back, I guess.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean,
that's right. Yeah, that's right. What the grant commits us to is using the money. If we don't use the money, we give it back.
back, yep.
Yep. Great. Are you ready to vote, Cal? Or do you have more questions or concerns?
I have concerns, but I haven't spent much time looking into this, to it, I have to confess. It just, it seems like a big undertaking. And,
It's definitely a big undertaking. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Big, exciting undertaking, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
I understand, I think from our previous conversations that it's the magnitude of
Yes,
the dollars, yeah.
I think, Cal, if we were to win this grant, that will soften these concerns by quite a bit.
Yeah,
As we stand now, we have enough money to do an initial build out.
yeah,
We certainly don't have enough money to do more than that. But also having won the initial county grant, in addition to our own ARPA funds, and having commissioned the engineering study, it does put us in a very good competitive position.
yeah.
As well as having given us over the past year quite a bit of time to think about it.
Yeah.
And we'll have more time as the details unfold.
Yeah.
And the municipalities working together on this grant, Dryden and Caroline were co-applicants. It puts us in a really good position for this grant. I'm really hopeful that we're going to be getting this money.
Yeah.
So
and
there are
this grant-
other grants that are in the offing, but I'm really hoping for this one. So
And this would just be for the partial build out.
That's correct.
it'd be for a lot of the build out.
It's for a
Yeah.
lot of,
A lot
it's
of-
not the entire town. We'd have to get more money for that, but. I mean, I think, this is exactly, there were like 3 areas of infrastructure that were highlighted by the federal government for use of ARPA funds, and broadband was one of them. So
Yeah,
I think, and now the funding is
It's coming
coming.
through,
So, and we're in a great position for applying for that.
what's the amount of the grant?
So,
6 million.
yeah, or over 5. or
Yeah, it's
something like
between
that.
5
So,
and 6 million. I
Yeah.
can't remember I think more towards 6. I'm remembering 6 million.
Okay.
And this will be shared with Dryden, or this will just be Caroline's share?
No,
No, that
no,
would
no.
be Dryden and Caroline together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Are we ready to vote?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Are you ready, Cal?
Yeah.
Okay. With that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, thank you. Unanimous. All right,
Minutes.
so yeah, approval of the minutes of February 14th and February 28th. Does anybody have feedback for Jessie on that?
I gave her some, but she corrected them.
Yeah, she got that. I noticed that too. Yeah, so I think that's been corrected. Yeah, so
I'm fine.
fine, so great. All right, the minutes of February 14th and February 28th are hereby approved. Thank you so much, Jesse, for your hard work on that. And now agenda items for the next meeting on the 20th. It's The public hearing is actually a separate meeting from the town board meeting, but we will start at 7 o'clock with the public hearing. And at the end of the public hearing, then we'll go to the business meeting. I will be putting forward the clean heating and cooling resolution that Mike mentioned, and we can talk more about that. You will recall a couple of years ago, this will be a second clean heating and cooling campaign, so we did another one and that was successful and earned us a NYSERDA award. Anything else for the business meeting?
I would like to have a resolution prepared to act on the zoning law
Oh.
if we determine to do so in that meeting.
Okay. I think that
Which would,
makes,
of course, follow a discussion of the public hearing.
yeah,
Right.
that makes sense.
Is it possible to get an update on the voting at Caroline Center?
An update on what? The building of
The
Caroline
voting-
Center?
Yeah, the voting at Caroline Center.
The election commission's decision not to have voting at Caroline.
Oh, yeah,
Or, yeah, not have voting at.
Right.
okay. Yep, I can check on that.
Voting, okay, that's why I didn't
Yeah,
understand the word.
yeah,
I thought he said building.
I did too.
Do we need an update on next week on the highway building?
we need, I was just gonna mention that, so we need, I think Bob will be back Thursday, but we need to get Labella a revised functional program. So I will try to work with Bob to see if we can get that. And
I went by the barn today and it's quite a significant addition that's
Oh,
going up. So you
okay.
guys might want to just drive by and eyeball
Okay.
it. It's not insignificant.
Okay.
you mentioned to Bob last time about the 284 agreement.
Yeah.
I had mentioned it to him privately, so I think that'll probably be,
I don't know if we can do that, if we'll have time to do that next meeting, but we should at least do it
yeah,
by April.
we'll see.
I could probably give you an update on standby electricity for the town hall and the highway barn.
At the next meeting,
Yes,
okay. Have you heard back?
I've talked to them, yes.
Okay, great. Great.
Michelle, I was just gonna ask whether, because I don't know whether you've acted on setting up the library committee or where that's.
No, so I,
History. Your history, sorry.
yeah. I haven't, but I have some questions about that. And so I don't know when, I was kind of waiting for things to blow over with with all the other work we're doing, but do you want to talk about that at the next business meeting or?
Sure, or I don't know, are they small questions? You want to talk tonight? Or?
Well, I guess I think just for, how we would structure it, and I think you got a letter from Becky DeWitt, I believe.
I did?
Yeah.
Did you send me a letter? Just
Yeah.
recently? Or,
No,
oh, okay,
but that's okay.
I forgot about-
mean it
okay,
before.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, we could talk about how to structure it.
okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
I mean, for example, I had a meeting today regarding the website. And things came up in relationship to that where I thought it would be really helpful to have this committee in place so
Okay.
that the committee
No,
could
I
just discuss these kinds of
Totally,
things.
I just,
We did pass a resolution
Right,
about this, right?
but we didn't really say how it was gonna be set up, like.
Yeah, it does have some structural stuff. I stumbled on it the other day and reminded myself,
Yeah.
so, yeah, we
So,
might want to tweak it or whatever, but yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be good to think about.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it does have some structural thing. I'm not, well, anyway, I think we could talk about it at the next meeting if you'd like.
okay,
And I'll write something up before then.
that meeting is really filling up.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, so I didn't know how much.
I mean, maybe we could just resolve that now, because we have time to talk about it, if you're clear in your mind what you.
Well, I'm just
We'd like to
wondering,
bring
you know, we had talked about who would be the chair and we had talked about possibly me being the chair or not. And then I've kind of gone back to maybe having a citizen, you know, town's citizen person be the chair and me being the liaison. Yeah, and so it would be appointing the chair, right? You'd have to appoint the chair and then,
Mhm.
I think the liaison idea would be good.
so.
I don't know, I think it would just be more direct for a town board member to be the chair. So that things can get done quickly and expediently without going back and forth. And it does involve town appointments. Personnel appointments, which
Mhm.
That's,
I don't think a citizen, an unelected citizen should be the point person for personally. So I'd prefer for a board member to be the chair.
I guess I'm a little confused
Ideally, it
about,
shouldn't be a controversial situation.
yeah, I'm confused about what the committee is responsible for. Exactly.
So with issues concerning the History Center.
Just supporting the historian,
Yeah.
Right,
the history room.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
so I think,
Just
yeah,
And to be connected with the financing from the town board or the history.
And ideally,
So that's-
bridging with the Caroline History Group as well, and maybe helping that become an integral part of the town.
Mhm.
Ideally, you know. But mostly to oversee the history room and to sync the building, the work on the building with the history room, what those
Yeah.
needs would be, articulate them.
yeah, I mean, I guess I see it as a way to, sort of a conduit of
Yeah.
so the needs of the history room can be, you know, given to us, like, so we can figure out how to help them.
Mhm. Okay.
So,
Okay, well, why don't we, you know, we can think about it and talk about it and put something forward at the next meeting and
okay,
go from there. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth thinking about a little bit.
okay. We can think of, and we can, if we have time, we can put something forward at the next meeting then.
Okay,
Okay.
great, okay, good, sounds good. Good night, Cindy. Yeah, thank you. All right, so anything else for the next meeting? Nothing.
That's a big meeting.
Great, okay. So with that, I guess I'm gonna call for adjournment.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Motion, okay, there you go. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great, okay. Thanks, everybody.
Has anybody ever objected to adjourning a meeting?